Some stories start with numbers on a spec sheet, others begin with a feeling you cannot quite define. You hear it, you sense it, you anticipate the moment it all comes together. The sound of precision tuned to purpose, the harmony of balance and control, the rare blend of logic and emotion that turns mechanical movement into something personal. This is about a machine born from decades of small refinements and relentless testing, where engineers measured progress in fractions of seconds and degrees of steering feedback. It is about a car that refuses to fade quietly into the future, proving that passion still has a place in the era of algorithms. Today, we explore how one modern icon has pushed its own limits to become something greater, not by reinventing its DNA, but by perfecting it. Stay with me, hit like if you love performance done with discipline, subscribe for more deep dives into automotive evolution, and tell us in the comments which model you want us to cover next. The Honda Civic Type or FL5 2024 begins where few cars dare to go. It carries the weight of expectation built over decades of performance heritage. Since the first Type or badge appeared, it stood for balance between precision engineering and emotional connection. For the 2024 generation, Honda sharpened that philosophy into something almost obsessive. The Civic Type or FL5 did not need to start from scratch. Its predecessor, the FK8, was already a record-setter. But in the world of high-performance hatchbacks, standing still is the same as moving backward. Every year brings stronger rivals and rising benchmarks. The FL5 was designed to answer a difficult question. How do you make one of the most complete front-wheel drive cars in history even better without losing its identity? The answer began with a platform that was stiffer, wider, and lower. Honda engineers did not just strengthen it for rigidity, they refined its proportions to improve the center of gravity and aerodynamics. The car grew slightly in size, yet its handling became sharper, more predictable, and more natural. That balance came from countless hours in simulation and on racetracks, where every angle, vent, and surface was tuned for purpose. The Civic Type or FL5 does not wear its aggression loudly, instead, it delivers quiet confidence through functional design. The rear wing, for example, is not an aesthetic statement, it is a product of air pressure calculations that increase downforce without excessive drag. The hood vent is not decoration, it extracts heat to stabilize temperatures during sustained track use. Everything serves a reason. The heart of the Honda Civic Type or FL5 2024 remains the 2.0-liter turbocharged inline-4 engine, but nearly every aspect of it has been touched for refinement. Power rises modestly to around 315 horsepower, but the focus was never about raw output. The tuning aimed for response, linearity, and repeatable performance lap after lap. A lighter flywheel, revised turbo impeller, and optimized exhaust flow all contribute to a faster, smoother surge. The torque curve now arrives with immediacy yet remains manageable through precise throttle calibration. It is the type of power band that rewards smooth inputs rather than brute force. The 6-speed manual transmission remains sacred. Honda refused to dilute it with automation. Instead, they perfected it. The shift action is crisper, the throws are shorter, the clutch engagement feels mechanical yet forgiving. Rev match technology, once controversial, has become an integral feature, allowing even amateur drivers to find rhythm on downshifts. For purists, it can be turned off, for learners, it builds confidence. The connection between hand, foot, and machine is seamless, creating a flow that defines the Civic Type or driving experience. Chassis development became the real art form. Honda used a multi-link rear suspension setup refined from its base Civic but tuned with a performance algorithm that continuously adjusts damping rates. The adaptive dampers react in milliseconds to body motion, providing both comfort on public roads and sharp precision on the track. In comfort mode, the car feels supple. In sport, it tightens into readiness. In Plus R, it transforms into a track weapon. Yet even in its most aggressive setting, the suspension avoids harshness. This is where Honda's engineering philosophy stands apart. Control is never at the cost of composure. The steering system underwent its own transformation. While the mechanical ratio remains quick, Honda introduced new electronic calibration to improve feel around the center and reduce unwanted torque steer. The result is steering that feels organic, weighted, and communicative. You sense the tire grip through your fingertips, not through exaggerated resistance but through precise modulation. In fast corners, the Civic Type R FL5 tracks with confidence. Its front end grips relentlessly while the rear follows with neutrality. This balance makes it possible to dance with the limit rather than wrestle it. Braking also saw upgrades. The FL5 uses larger two-piece rotors up front, clamped by Brembo calipers designed for sustained track abuse. Cooling channels and ducting direct airflow efficiently to manage heat. The pedal feel is firm and consistent, delivering predictable deceleration without fade. This gives drivers the confidence to brake later, harder, and more consistently. Honda's approach emphasizes reliability under stress. The FL5 is a car that does not wilt under heavy load. Aerodynamics, perhaps the most subtle area of improvement, define much of what makes the 2024 Civic Type R unique. Every line and contour is purposeful. The broader stance increases stability. The side skirts control underbody airflow. The rear diffuser channels turbulence smoothly. These refinements add real-world benefits measured in seconds per lap. Honda even analyzed wind flow over different paint finishes, ensuring surface friction did not interfere with aerodynamic consistency. It is meticulous engineering at a level rarely seen in a road car at this price point. Inside, the Civic Type R FL5's cabin rejects distraction. Deep red suede-like seats grip firmly yet remain comfortable for daily use. The steering wheel's thickness and texture create instant familiarity. The shifter, machined aluminum polished to perfection, sits at the ideal height. Every interface is designed to encourage focus. Even the instrument cluster adapts. In Plus R mode, the display simplifies to highlight revs, gear position, and shift lights. The goal is clarity in the heat of driving, not entertainment overload. Honda's approach extends to the digital layer. The onboard data logger, accessible through an app, allows drivers to record lap times, analyze cornering forces, and review throttle and brake inputs. It turns any track session into a learning experience, democratizing telemetry once reserved for professional teams. This commitment to education rather than ego mirrors Honda's heritage. Performance should empower, not intimidate. The Civic Type R FL5 also benefits from a more refined ride quality and cabin insulation. It no longer feels punishing on long drives. This duality, comfort and capability, defines its modern character. It is a car that can commute, cruise, and compete without compromise. Few vehicles strike that balance so naturally. Honda's testing phase for the 2024 Civic Type R FL5 was not limited to one location. From the Suzuka circuit in Japan to the Nürburgring in Germany, every lap fed data back into simulation. Engineers chased marginal gains in stability, thermal management, and consistency. When the car finally broke the Nürburgring lap record for front-wheel drive production cars, it validated years of quiet labor. Yet Honda did not celebrate with bombast, they let the results speak. The numbers were proof of method, not marketing. What makes the Civic Type R FL5 stand out is its refusal to chase trends. In an era when performance often equals complexity, Honda focused on refinement through simplicity. There are no adaptive wings, no hybrid torque fills, no artificial exhaust soundtracks. Instead, every sensation comes from authentic mechanical feedback. This purity resonates with drivers who value engagement over excess. It is not nostalgia, it is discipline. The Honda Civic Type R FL5 2024 exists because Honda's engineers refuse to let passion become nostalgia. Segment 2 is about that mindset, the unseen culture behind the car. Inside Honda's R&D corridors, the Type R program operates almost like a secret society. It is small, selective, and fiercely dedicated. Engineers who work on the Civic Type R FL5 see it not as a job but as stewardship of a lineage. Their mission is simple but consuming: to make each generation purer, sharper, and more meaningful to drive. This purpose guides every technical choice, from engine mapping to pedal placement. They measure progress not in horsepower but in the smile that forms mid-corner when everything connects. In the 2024 Civic Type R FL5, this philosophy took tangible shape through discipline. The team dissected every aspect of the FK8 model, keeping only what still served the driver. They treated improvement like a science experiment, each hypothesis tested on simulation rigs, proving grounds, and circuits around the globe. Weight savings came not from exotic materials but from efficiency. Components were redesigned for purpose, avoiding unnecessary complexity. The result is a car that feels coherent, everything works in harmony. You can sense it through the clutch bite point, through the steering's resistance as you approach the apex, through the way the tires communicate grip and slip. It feels organic because it was built by people who still drive with intent. The human factor defines the Civic Type R FL5 more than any piece of hardware. Many of the engineers responsible for it were once racers or avid enthusiasts. They know the subtle difference between feedback and noise, between agility and nervousness. Their work is measured by sensations that cannot be captured in spreadsheets. Honda's culture allows these instincts to guide development. This autonomy keeps the Type R alive in a corporate world that often demands conformity. The engineers protect this balance fiercely, understanding that one compromise could unravel decades of credibility. Yet behind the romance lies technical brilliance. Take the FL5's revised aerodynamics. Honda used computational fluid dynamics to study every millimeter of airflow. Engineers placed sensors across prototype body panels to monitor pressure differentials in real time. They spent months refining the rear wing's end plates to minimize turbulence while maximizing stability at speed. The final shape may look simple, but it reflects thousands of adjustments. This process mirrors how Honda builds its race cars: data-driven, human-validated, and relentlessly iterative. It proves that obsession can be rational. The same philosophy extends to the powertrain. The K20C1 engine in the Civic Type R FL5 is not a radical departure from before, yet it behaves like a new creation. Honda engineers optimized the turbocharger's housing to reduce lag without overboosting, preserving throttle fidelity. The cooling system was redesigned to handle long sessions under high ambient heat, essential for endurance events. Even the oil pan baffling was revised to prevent aeration under high lateral G-forces. These refinements add up to consistency, a trait that separates true performance cars from numbers chasers. A dyno can show power, only endurance reveals integrity. Inside, the Civic Type R FL5's driving position was another focal point of improvement. Engineers lowered the seat height by millimeters to enhance connection with the chassis. They studied how drivers brace their legs during cornering, shaping the side bolsters to provide lateral support without restricting movement. Steering wheel diameter and thickness were tested with feedback from professionals until the ideal compromise emerged. Nothing feels arbitrary, every detail has reason. This is why the car feels intuitive from the first corner. Honda also challenged itself to make the 2024 Civic Type R FL5 accessible. The engineers wanted a car that rewards skilled drivers but also invites newcomers to grow. That is where the chassis electronics come in. The stability systems do not intervene abruptly, they act as invisible guardians. They let you explore limits gradually, signaling with subtle cues rather than abrupt corrections. The data logging system reinforces this learning cycle, transforming each drive into feedback. The driver becomes both pilot and student, and the car becomes the teacher. This approach reveals something deeper about Honda's view of performance. It is a dialogue, not a contest. The Civic Type R FL5 is not about dominance but about conversation, between machine and human, between tradition and innovation. The engineers respect that the next generation of drivers may never know a world without digital mediation, so they crafted a car that can bridge both eras. Analog in feel, intelligent in function. Still, the pressure on the team was immense. The FK8 had set a Nürburgring record, expectations were sky-high. To surpass it, Honda returned to Suzuka, its spiritual home, to refine the balance before tackling the green hell again. Test drivers ran hundreds of laps, logging microscopic differences in tire wear and body flex. Adjustments were made overnight. When the FL5 eventually set a new benchmark, it was not celebrated with fireworks. Inside Honda, it was treated as validation that hard work still mattered more than shortcuts. Critics often ask why Honda insists on front-wheel drive. The answer lies in philosophy. Rear-wheel drive might be the purist's layout, but front-wheel drive, when perfected, represents mastery of balance and efficiency. The Civic Type R FL5 demonstrates that limitations can inspire innovation. Its limited slip differential and suspension geometry work in concert to make the car feel neutral mid-corner, pulling itself through turns rather than pushing wide. Drivers who experience it understand immediately. It challenges assumptions about what front-wheel drive can achieve. Beyond performance, there is something poetic about Honda's restraint. The FL5 could have easily become heavier, flashier, or digitally exaggerated. Instead, Honda aimed for timelessness. That restraint gives the car longevity. It will feel relevant years after its rivals chase trends. Even the interior materials reflect this mindset: durable, purposeful, tactile. The bright red seats are not for attention, they are a tradition, carried from past Type RS as a visual reminder of intent. Underneath the romance of craftsmanship lies relentless verification. Every FL5 built undergoes quality checks with a precision rarely seen outside motorsports. Torque specs are measured twice, panel alignments verified with laser systems. This consistency ensures that every car feels identical, every shifter clicked the same. It reinforces the idea that the Civic Type R is more than a car, it is a covenant of precision between maker and driver. That precision also defines how it interacts with the real world. On public roads, the Civic Type R FL5 exhibits remarkable civility. The adaptive suspension smooths out imperfections, the cabin isolation keeps fatigue low. Yet a twist of the drive mode transforms it into something entirely different. Few cars transition between dual personalities so effortlessly. This versatility is no accident. Honda's testing protocols demand perfection in both extremes. The Honda Civic Type R FL5 2024 is more than a product, it is a message sent to the future. Segment 3 is about that impact, what this car represents beyond the data. In an era defined by digital transformation and the rise of electrified performance, the Civic Type R FL5 arrives as a reminder that progress is not always about replacing what came before. Sometimes, it is about refining what already works to perfection. It tells the world that emotion still matters in motion, that a car can be advanced without losing its soul. The influence of the 2024 Civic Type R FL5 begins with its audience. It has captured not just longtime enthusiasts but also a new generation discovering driving for the first time. Younger owners, many raised on simulations and screens, find in this car a tangible expression of what virtual experiences try to imitate: real grip, real feedback, real risk balanced with reward. The Civic Type R teaches that mastery requires patience and respect. In doing so, it keeps the language of driving alive. Its impact extends to the industry as well. Other manufacturers watch closely because the FL5 demonstrates that purity can still sell. Amid a marketplace crowded with heavy, overpowered machines, the Civic Type R succeeds with restraint and focus. It proves that balance is marketable, that connection can be profitable. Even as performance divisions pivot to electrification, Honda's achievement pressures rivals to consider engagement as much as acceleration. The Civic Type R FL5 resets expectations, reminding everyone that numbers alone do not define greatness. For Honda itself, this car reaffirms a legacy. The Type R badge has always symbolized a specific ideal: lightness, precision, and integrity. By elevating those traits rather than abandoning them, the FL5 strengthens Honda's identity at a time when brand differentiation risks blurring. It tells the world that Honda's DNA still values engineering excellence over theatrics. This integrity carries weight among enthusiasts who crave authenticity. It builds loyalty that transcends product cycles. The 2024 Civic Type R FL5 also serves as a bridge between analog and digital generations. It uses modern technology, adaptive damping, telemetry, drive modes, but not as a filter. Instead, these systems act as amplifiers for the driver's inputs, not replacements. That philosophy could influence the design of future performance hybrids and electric models. Honda now knows how to create technology that respects human engagement, and that lesson could shape how driving feels in the next decade. The FL5 might one day be remembered as the blueprint for emotion in the digital age. Culturally, the car's reception has been extraordinary. Every review, every lap test, every owner story contributes to its legend. But what truly defines it is how people talk about it. Drivers describe moments, perfect shifts, balanced slides, quiet satisfaction after a lap done right. Those stories matter because they remind us that cars are not just tools, they are experiences. The Civic Type R FL5 reignites that truth in a generation distracted by convenience. It creates new enthusiasts the same way earlier Type RS inspired a generation before. There is also symbolic weight in how the FL5 behaves off the track. It does not shout for attention. It earns it through precision. In a culture obsessed with spectacle, it stands for authenticity. That subtlety may be its greatest legacy. 10 or 20 years from now, when electric performance dominates, enthusiasts will look back and recognize this car as one of the last great expressions of mechanical purity. It will occupy the same historical space as other analog icons, not for its speed alone but for what it stood for. Its presence on the road today also changes how people view the Civic nameplate. Once seen as practical and humble, it now carries the credibility of engineering excellence. The Civic Type R FL5 2024 elevates the entire model family, showing that performance and practicality can coexist without compromise. It broadens the definition of what a compact car can be. That influence reaches beyond showrooms, it shapes perception. Even in its production philosophy, the FL5 leaves lessons. It demonstrates that craftsmanship can thrive within mass production if guided by passion. Honda's manufacturing process, though efficient, still includes human oversight where it matters most. Skilled workers handle key assembly points, ensuring tactile quality remains intact. This blend of automation and artistry could guide how future cars are built, preserving the human touch in industrial precision. And then, there is the emotional footprint. The 2024 Civic Type R FL5 makes drivers care. It transforms commutes into practice sessions, corners into small victories, and ownership into identity. Few modern cars can evoke that. This emotional bond is its real success. Even if the automotive landscape changes completely, people will remember how this car made them feel. That is immortality in a mechanical form. What comes next for Honda will likely involve electrification, and the lessons from the Civic Type R FL5 will carry forward. Engineers will try to translate its balance and communication into new powertrains. The challenge will be immense, but the philosophy remains clear: technology must serve emotion, not replace it. That creed could ensure Honda's future performance cars retain a human core, even as their components evolve. The Civic Type R FL5's influence may already be visible in how enthusiasts talk about driving culture. Forums, clubs, and online communities treat it not as a collector's object but as a shared benchmark. Owners trade setup tips, track data, and experiences. This exchange keeps driving knowledge alive. It builds a sense of tribe around craftsmanship and curiosity rather than brand tribalism. That might be the most valuable contribution of all. Ultimately, the 2024 Honda Civic Type R FL5 is a time capsule. It captures the essence of mechanical driving at its peak, packaged in a form that respects modern needs. It connects generations of drivers through feel and feedback, offering proof that engineering excellence can coexist with accessibility. In an age where driving is often reduced to convenience, this car brings back the art. In the final moments of this story, we will close the loop by looking at what the Honda Civic Type R FL5 2024 teaches us about the meaning of progress, how it reframes the future of performance, and why it stands as one of the most important cars of its time. The Honda Civic Type R FL5 2024 closes its story not with noise but with purpose. This final reflection is about what it leaves behind and what it teaches. When we trace the path from its origins to this latest evolution, we see a consistent theme: progress through discipline. The FL5 proves that true innovation often hides in refinement. It is not always about new materials or headline-grabbing power figures. Sometimes, it is about listening to the driver, studying every gesture, and translating that feedback into engineering precision. That approach gives the Civic Type R FL5 its soul. This car reminds us that technology alone cannot define greatness. A machine can be fast, smart, and efficient, but without emotional resonance, it remains hollow. The 2024 Honda Civic Type R FL5 bridges that gap. It shows how thoughtful design, analog sensation, and modern systems can coexist to create something timeless. It stands as living proof that mechanical engagement still matters in an automated age. For anyone who loves driving, that realization feels like hope. Looking forward, the Civic Type R FL5 marks both an ending and a beginning. It may be one of the last great manual performance cars built without hybrid assistance, yet it also shapes the standards for future electrified models. It challenges engineers everywhere to capture emotion within code, to design digital experiences that still feel human. Its influence will extend far beyond the racetrack. It will inform how we define connection in every form of mobility. Culturally, the 2024 Civic Type R FL5 symbolizes resistance to apathy. It rejects the idea that performance should be effortless or artificial. It celebrates the value of skill, patience, and mastery. In doing so, it preserves something deeper than speed: the human pursuit of excellence. That makes it more than a car, it is a reflection of character. For enthusiasts, this model becomes a personal milestone. It rewards those who value engagement over indulgence. Each gear change, each corner, each lap becomes a quiet reminder that perfection is a process, not a state. That lesson extends beyond driving. It mirrors how progress works in life itself: small, deliberate steps, executed with care. The Honda Civic Type R FL5 2024 will be remembered not just for its records but for its integrity. When the world looks back at the twilight years of internal combustion performance, this car will stand tall as one of the last great analog masterpieces. It captured a moment when humanity and technology coexisted in perfect rhythm. That balance, once experienced, never fades from memory. As we close, one truth becomes clear. The future will bring silence where engines once sang, efficiency where excitement once lived, but the spirit that built the Civic Type R FL5 will endure. It will guide the next generation of engineers, designers, and dreamers who still believe that machines can move us, literally and emotionally. That is the real victory of this car. It reminds us that passion, when engineered with purpose, never goes out of style. If you have stayed with this story until now, thank you for listening and sharing this journey. Remember to like if you value craftsmanship over hype, subscribe if you want more stories about cars that matter, and tell us in the comments what you want to explore next. The Honda Civic Type R FL5 2024 has written its chapter in automotive history. Now it is up to us to keep that passion alive.